What?
Our day is not over just yet.
Woohoo! USA! USA!
We have an action-packed hour for you 6 p.m. drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for August 7th, 2025. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Very exciting stuff going on with the Padres right now. Very exciting stuff going on everywhere in San Diego right now, including, and I'm just going to start here because I had the last hour just to, get ready for this show and finish up the last show and listen to the roundtable a little bit. Well, I ended up playing with the Michael King bobblehead for about 20 minutes. I don't know what I was doing. I was just being a little kid, like walking him around and making his head bobble. But I got to say, this Michael King bobblehead might be my favorite one yet. It might be. The Fernando twirling bat one is pretty cool. But this Michael King bobblehead that they're going to give out on August 20th is pretty awesome, I have to say. So if you want your own Michael King bobblehead, you need to go to the game Wednesday, August 20th. The giveaway is limited to the first 40,000 fans in attendance. First pitch set for 6:40 p.m. Gates are open to the public 90 minutes prior. For more information, please visit padres.com/giveaways. So Michael King's bobblehead is going to be in 2 weeks. I'm going to have to go to this game, because I never was a bobblehead fan until I started working here. And then, I saw all the bobbleheads come through here every time. And so then I started collecting the bobbleheads. I have a ton of bobbleheads right now, and I need the Michael King bobblehead in my collection. So I'm going to have to go to the game because no one lets me take these things home anymore from the studio. But I like it. I think it's a good one. And I'm sure, and I'm very, very, very happy that Michael King, when he said, I'm going to be back before my bobblehead day, which is August 20th, he was right. And, I don't expect Michael King to be a guy who goes out there and says something that he wasn't sure of. So he was sure of it. But Michael King will be starting on Saturday. And the Padres just got a little bit better. And they got a little bit better at the trade deadline. And now there are a whole other can of worms that we need to open about what's happening with this team. And I'm not calling for major changes or anything like that, because obviously they're still winning. They're doing well. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Fernando stuff that we talked about during the roundtable, which was, which version of Fernando do we like? Do we like this Fernando that walks a lot at the leadoff spot? Or do we want to go back to the Fernando that hits a lot of home runs and strikes out a lot? And it sounds like an easy choice, but it's not really an easy choice. So we'll get into that just a little bit. We're going to talk about Ramon Laureano, my new favorite Padre. We're going to talk about him and whether or not he would be a good leadoff hitter. Also, Gavin Sheets, has he been forgotten? Has Gavin Sheets been forgotten? We'll talk about some of that. Also, I went down to the stadium on last Saturday, and I talked with Mason Miller, and I also dug through my videos from Saturday, and I talked a little bit with Bryce Johnson, because Bryce Johnson's also been a forgotten member of this team. Now, he wasn't, I wouldn't say he was the biggest contributor, but Bryce Johnson has had some clutch hits this year. He's had some good defense this year, and I think it's more impressive to me that Bryce Johnson was able to keep his spot in the clubhouse through all of the different changes that were made to this team. Maldonado DFA'd, Tyler Wade DFA'd, Trenton Brooks DFA'd, but Bryce Johnson was able to keep his spot in that clubhouse. And so I asked him a couple questions about that and about the trade deadline, because I always wonder how nerve-wracking it is for guys to go through the trade deadline. If you're someone who is like Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Jackson Merrill, you don't have to worry about being traded. But guys like Bryce Johnson, he's already been traded a couple times. Guys like Tyler Wade, he's been traded before, or I don't know if he's been traded, but he's been off and on this team this year. that's got to be a nerve-wracking time, because sometimes those guys, the ones at the end of your bench, are the guys that get shipped out. And I don't know that I would be able to sleep the night before or do anything but worry on the trade deadline day until the deadline passed. And so Bryce Johnson, I asked him a little bit about that as well. I talked to some of the people down at the clubhouse when I was down there, and they were saying that Dylan Cease walked into the clubhouse with his arms raised in the air like, I made it. I am here to stay. And that's why I think Dylan Cease is going to start pitching better. And yeah, he's a professional, but still, he was probably thinking he was going to get traded. He was probably thinking, hey, I'm going to be living somewhere else in a couple days, but he didn't. He didn't. He's still on the team, and I'm very happy about that, because I don't know that you're going to get the return that you wanted from a trade of Dylan Cease, just because he's been so up and down this year. But I think that he's going to be valuable down the stretch. You want a guy of his caliber, and I know that he does not have a great playoff record with the Padres, but you want a guy of his caliber as an option. And even if it's coming out of the bullpen, you want a guy as an option. And so Dylan Cease, I think he's going to pitch better. But Mason Miller, Bryce Johnson audio is going to be at 6:20. And then, of course, the Daily Gripe at the end of the show. If you want to watch the show, you can just go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan, or you can go to youtube.com/at The Skraby Show. You can watch it there as well. You can go to Facebook, 97.3 The Fan. You can go to Twitch, 97.3 The Fan, and you can go to my Twitter at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRAB as in boy, Y. So, with all of that said, let's get into the topic I want to start with, because Ben asked it on the roundtable. Where does Ramon Laureano need to hit in this lineup? And we kind of hemmed and hawed about it, but Chris said maybe leadoff. I like Ramon Laureano in the leadoff spot. So I did a little bit of research on him. And the reason I like Ramon Laureano in the leadoff spot, I've only seen him for a couple games, but as I said to open the show, he's my new favorite Padre, because he hustles. He's got power if he needs it. He can hit the gaps. He's a gamer. He seems to just be the perfect prototypical Padres philosophy hitter, because he has done everything right for the Padres so far. But I was looking through some of his career and looking through where he's hit best in his career. And he has hit leadoff before. He hasn't hit leadoff that much, though. He's only in his career, he's only had 41 games at the leadoff spot. And when you're looking for a guy to be a leadoff hitter, you want a guy that gets on base, maybe walks a bunch, productive outs if it's later in the game, moving the guys over, things like that. Well, in his career in the leadoff spot, he has a 208 batting average. And his career is a little strange too, because he has never played this great in his career. So these numbers are slightly skewed, but I don't think they're too far off. And so I really want to explore this a little bit. And if you're going to put Ramon Laureano somewhere, and I'm going purely by batting average just because that is a good indication on how much a guy gets on base. You can go by on base percentage too, but we talking batting average here on this show. His best spot in the lineup is the 5th position, where he has 120 games. He's played in 120 games at the 2nd spot in the order, and he's played 120 games in the 5th spot in the order. And when he's in the 5th spot of the order, he's hitting 298 with an OPS of 908. He's hit 21 home runs. He's driven in 71 RBIs. You can't look away from these numbers, because when you look at every other spot in the order, he's not even close to those numbers in each spot in the order. Batting second, where he has the same amount of games that he's played, he's hitting 250 with a 785 OPS. Strangely enough, he has the same amount of home runs in the 2nd spot that he does in the 5th spot. But right now, he is a lightning rod for this team. Luis Arraez said it earlier. He said earlier in the week, he said, I love this guy. He plays like a Padre. I love being teammates with him. He's a gamer. He comes to play every single day. And I think that when you grab the respect of the clubhouse as quickly as Ramon Laureano has grabbed the respect of the Padres clubhouse, it goes a long way. Because I was reading an article about being traded, and I think it was a Kevin Acee article or a Jeff Sanders. It was a San Diego Union Tribune article, but they were talking to certain guys about being traded, and there's just some things that you don't really know about being traded. Why do guys struggle when they go to new teams in the middle of the year? Because it's not easy. It's not easy to, go across the entire coast. Like Ryan O'Hearn in particular said, he feels like when he got into the clubhouse, he was behind on inside jokes. He was trying to figure out what guys liked what, he was trying to figure out his teammates, which is the first thing that he needs to do, and he's doing it. But all of that stuff is what contributes to a player not performing well after they're traded. Like Juan Soto came here. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he was a little bit slow to get going. And once he got going, it was great, all that. But when you're traded and you're like a guy like Ryan O'Hearn who isn't used to this, it's a little bit difficult. I can imagine myself being traded somewhere and just kind of being a little bit of a nervous wreck for a week or two, just because it's a new routine, it's a new team, new teammates. You don't know if a joke's going to hit with these guys or if they're going to hate you, all of that stuff. But Ramon Laureano said, because he's been traded a couple times, he's able to block out the noise and he's able to play baseball. Now, it just turns out that Ryan O'Hearn kind of paid off some of the trade because he hit a home run to tie the game last night, which was awesome. Ramon Laureano, though, has been he picked up where he left off in Baltimore, and he has been a revelation for this lineup. He's hitting .346 since he came to the Padres. He's got OPS of 1.024. His season OPS is .897, so he's got a better OPS than Manny Machado right now. And when you look at what he's been doing, he has one double, two triples, and a homer with 5 RBIs. That's invaluable. When you can get a guy that just plugs right in and does what you need him to do, it makes everyone look really smart, number one. And number two, it makes it easier on the rest of the team to trust that guy in the lineup. And I think that when you have a guy like Ramon Laureano who could help other players who have been traded in to the organization, that's also huge. And I think that if Ramon Laureano continues to do what he's been doing, the Padres are going to go far in the playoffs. They got to make the playoffs first, which I think they will. And I'm not trying to gloss over the fact that they have to make the playoffs first, but he's one of those guys that is a game changer. I hate that phrase, but he's one of those guys that could change everything for the Padres, because now pitchers have to worry about the entire lineup and not just the top of the order for the Padres. And that's a whole different beast for teams to tackle. And if you got guys like Ryan O'Hearn hitting home runs, timely home runs, then you're going in the right direction with where you wanted the team to be after you made all these trades for the trade deadline. And AJ Preller, he didn't just want Ramon Laureano. He absolutely wanted to go after Ryan O'Hearn as well. And he was so set on these guys coming to San Diego that he added prospects to get both of them. And then he added another prospect or two to get the Orioles to pay down both the veterans' contracts to the major league minimum. So they're not really spending all that much money on these guys. The Orioles are basically paying for them. So AJ Preller, in my opinion, this trade was so far a major success. And I love watching Ramon Laureano play. And I love watching Ryan O'Hearn hit game-tying home runs in the 9th inning. It's good stuff. It's really, really good stuff. Let's see. Before I get to break, let me see. No, I'm going to talk Gavin Sheets on the other side. We're going to have a little bit of a longer segment on the other side. I'm going to talk Gavin Sheets whether or not he's just been forgotten. And then we'll hear from Mason Miller and Bryce Johnson. You're listening to The Skraby Show. I'm Matt Skraby. This is 97.3 The Fan.
Gambling problem?
Matt Skraby back with you. 97.3 The Fan, The Skraby Show. If you want to watch, you can again. Search YouTube, or go to YouTube and search 97.3 The Fan. You can also search at The Skraby Show. There's another channel going with that right now. We are talking about the Padres, and Marco on the chat said, he said, I'm glad love that these guys are not rentals, which he later came back and said, actually, O'Hearn is. I do love the fact that Ramon Laureano is not a rental, because he's going to be back with this team next year, and he's going to be playing left field. So you don't have to worry about that. It's a club option for $6.5 million. And he's, I think I might be a little too excited about the recency of everything, but he's outperforming the $1.2 million that the Orioles are paying him. But his club option for next year, he'll be 31 years old, and he will be making $6.5 million. I think that's a slam dunk. I think it's a slam dunk for the Padres to give him that and lock up left field so you don't have to worry about it anymore, because we talked about left field the entire offseason coming into this year. We had Jason Hayward. We had Connor Joe at one point. Feels like Connor Joe was not even really here, even though he was. And I think it's just a lot easier for AJ Preller and company to know that they have a guy like Ramon Laureano in left field. Now, you might want to ask, what about Gavin Sheets? Why is Gavin Sheets being forgotten? He was, obviously a huge part of the beginning of this season, and up until a couple weeks ago, he was still a big part, but he has seen his playing time decrease, and it has been not jarring, I guess, but it's been noticeable that his playing time has been decreased. And I like guys like Gavin Sheets who are like, hey, you need me to play left field in order to stay on this team? Okay, I got it. Let me work on this. Let's go practice this. I like guys like that who are willing to try something new and willing to contribute to the team in the way that Gavin Sheets has. And Juan on the chat says something that is very smart, and it's Sheets was brought on to be a bench player. And that is true. Sheets was never brought on this team to be a starter, an everyday starter for the team. And I think that with Gavin Sheets, there could be a bigger role for him in the future with the Padres. He's got this season under his belt, and Gavin Sheets is someone that I think would be open if the money is right. I don't know how much he's looking for or anything like that, but I think that he would be a guy that would be open to staying with the team, and I'm just confirming his contract situation. Well, yeah, he's in arbitration for the next couple of years, so I don't know that this I don't want to call it a benching, but that's the easiest way to say the decreased playing time for Gavin Sheets has any it carries no weight in regards to the future with the team, because he can get better, and we've seen him get better this year. We've seen a guy who's never played left field in his life go play left field, and although he did run into a wall once or twice, which he jokes about, so I'll joke about it, I think that he has shown that he can grow in his game. And so Gavin Sheets right now is the odd man out, and when you're really looking at it, and it's a business, results-based business, baseball, he's just not getting it done at the plate recently. And if you look at his stats, May was the only month where he kind of had this great breakout type of month. He had 8 home runs that month. He hit 275 that month. All the other months are not even close to that. So you know that he can do it. And baseball is a weird, streaky game. But I do think that this is something that the Padres can build upon. And if I were the Padres, and I'm sure they have even told him this, because they seem to be very good at communication, but I'm sure that they told him, hey, you're under team control for a couple more years. We're going to put you in a good spot. And I believe that the team will do that, because Gavin Sheets can be a pretty dangerous DH if they need him there. I don't. If Luis Arise leaves in the offseason, he could be a first baseman. Ryan O'Hearn could be a first baseman, but Ryan O'Hearn's a rental, so that doesn't make any sense unless they bring him back. I think that Gavin Sheets has a spot in this team in the future. But if you look at the last 7 games that he's played, he's 3 for 24, hitting 125. Last 15 games, he is 9 for 53, hitting 170. Last 30 games, he's 24 for 111, and he's hitting 216. And in the last 7 games, he's only hit 1 home run. Obviously, it's in limited opportunities. But when you look at those numbers and then you look at what the Padres went and got, you understand why he's not getting the same amount of playing time that he did earlier in the year. And there's not really a I guess in his mind, I'm trying to put myself in his mind. And in his mind, he probably is a little frustrated that he's seeing playing time decrease, but he came on this show last week and he said he wants to do whatever he can to help the team win. If that's a bench player, then that's being a bench player. And I like that. And he understands this is a business because his dad played professional baseball as well. So if anybody understands it's a business, it's probably Gavin Sheets. And I think that with an off season of work, with an off season of kind of knowing you're going to be on a major league team, coming into spring training, already with a roster spot. I mean, someone can outplay him, obviously, but I'm going to say that he probably has a roster spot going into next year. I think that he can be hugely valuable for the future. Baja's #1 Padres fan said, our entire outfield never played outfield. Haha. That is true. That is true. Jackson Merrill playing center field, Fernando Tatis Jr. playing right field, and then you had Gavin Sheets playing left field. That's pretty funny, actually, to me, that they have so many guys that were drafted as shortstop playing outfield. But that's honestly, that's a testament to how good of athletes those guys are. It's not that easy to just switch positions. It's just not. And even though I've never played Major League Baseball, it's not easy from everything I've seen. All right, let's go into the stuff with Mason Miller and Bryce Johnson. So I'm going to get it up on the YouTube screen. If you are looking to watch this a little bit later, you can. But I went down to the clubhouse. I want to do this more often. And I want to go down to the clubhouse and try to get more audio for everyone. But I wanted to go down there because of the trade deadline. I wanted to see what the clubhouse was looking like. I wanted to see what the feeling inside of the clubhouse was. And I got to tell you, everybody was very, very excited about what was happening with the Padres. They won the night before, so this was done the day after Mason Miller made his Petco Park debut. But I can't even imagine going from Sutter Health Home Park or whatever it's called, Sutter Home Health Park, to Petco as your home stadium. I mean, it's a stagnant crowd up in Sacramento. I've talked to friends that have gone to games and said it's not as fun as you would think it is. And I don't think any of the pitchers like pitching up there. So you're going from a team that doesn't really care about the city that they're playing in until they get to Las Vegas, from that team to a team firmly entrenched in a playoff race, in a division race, and you get to actually contribute to a team that it could go somewhere. So I got to imagine that's a massive boost for Mason Miller, but I asked him about his Petco debut.
It was electric. Yeah, I was excited. Felt the energy from the moment I walked out there, and getting the call and getting warmed up, just excited, anxious to get in there, and felt that sense of calm once I was back to pitching and competing again.
Yeah, I gotta think that's really hard to be traded and then put into a game. What was that like for you, just entering a game without really knowing your teammates that well?
Yeah, I mean, you always want to do well, but I really wanted to get the job done for the guys last night. Being in that position, having the trust for them to put me in that game right away, meant a lot to me, and I was excited to get out of that jam and pass the ball to Robert as we got the win yesterday.
So that was Mason Miller, and you saw how electric Petco was when Mason Miller did come into the game, and you gotta love what you're seeing from him. Like I have been watching Mason Miller from afar for a little bit now because he was on my fantasy team last year. He helped me win a fantasy championship. If I haven't said that, you've probably heard it actually like maybe a million times at this point. But I watched him last year, and he just converted save after save after save last year. And one of the saves he did not convert, strangely enough, was actually Jackson Merrill taking him deep in that day game against the A's last year at Petco. But Mason Miller, because Robert Suarez is most likely, in my mind, he's already gone for next year. Mason Miller has 4 years of control through 2029, and he's going to be your closer. And this dude, by the way, he's extremely tall, extremely tall. And I'm six feet tall, and I felt like a tiny person because he's that tall, and he's got that baseball player build. But when you got a guy who can come in throwing 104 and then a nasty slider, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. There's no one else in the world that can throw the ball like Mason Miller can. And the Padres have him on their team for the foreseeable future. And AJ Preller also said that he's been looking at this guy for a long time, and he's been trying to get this guy. But now he has control over Mason Miller. I hate saying control over, but it's contract control. There we go. Contract control for the next 4 years. Switching gears just a little bit, Mason Miller is very he's very open about his diabetes diagnosis. And I'm not trying to compare myself to Mason Miller, but people ask me sometimes, why are you so open about your alcoholism? And my answer is because I can help people. And there are sometimes people who message me saying, hey, I was headed to the liquor store to get a drink when I was listening to you, and you were talking about something with alcohol, and I didn't do it. I went to a meeting instead. And so those are the reasons that I do it. And it took me a long time to be so comfortable talking about it. I didn't even really say anything to anyone for the first year and a half or so because I just wasn't sure about it. But Mason Miller is his alcohol is diabetes. His alcohol for me is I'm just going to keep going. Mason Miller is open and he's honest about everything. But here is what he had to say when I asked him why he's so open about his life.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I got diagnosed, and one of the first things I did was look up professional athletes with type 1 diabetes. And I really had no kind of grasp on the condition or anything like that. So being able to pull up guys like Mark Andrews, Jordan Hicks, other players, Adam Duvall, guys like that are playing at the highest level with that condition was reassuring to me. Even if at that point playing in the big leagues wasn't realistic for me, just knowing that people were able to play at a high level while living with it was reassuring to me. So I feel like now that I'm in that position, I have kind of that duty and responsibility to be that role model for kids. And if I can make a difference with one kid, then it's worth it to me.
What is the biggest question that you get from people about it?
I mean, from other kids that are diabetic, usually it's like, what's your favorite snack when your blood sugar is low? And Sour Patch Kids is like my guilty pleasure. But it's kind of just a general discussion. Everybody's different, and the way that I live with it is going to be different than the next person. And I think there's a lot of things you can learn from each other, but at the end of the day, it's trying things and seeing how your body responds to it. That is the most important thing to do.
So that was Mason Miller. I love that he answered Sour Patch Kids. I think that's hilarious because I'm not so much a Sour Patch Kids fan, but if there are Sour Patch Kids there, I will definitely eat them. But that's something that you have to look forward to if you're a parent out there who has a kid that's diabetic. You could point, and they're an athlete or they want to be a professional baseball player. You could point to Mason Miller and be like, hey, he made it all the way. And he's diabetic too. And I think that's important. I think that's a way to connect with the community. I think that's a way to connect with fans. And for a 26-year-old to kind of have the maturity that Mason Miller seems like he has, it's refreshing to see, and it's hard to remember that he is 26. Like, it's kind of crazy now that I'm a little bit older. I'm 40, going into these clubhouses with these guys that I had my driver's license when Mason Miller was born. That's crazy. That is crazy. But to see guys being able to carry that on and try to make a difference is a huge thing for me. So that was just a little bit of the Mason Miller talk that I had. It was very short. When we get back on the other side, I'll give you a quick detail into how these things happen and how you go about getting these interviews. And then we'll hear from Bryce Johnson. And we will also talk about, what did I put at the end here? We're going to talk about some other stuff. I'm not really sure yet, but we will hear from Padres outfielder Bryce Johnson on the Skraby Show when we get back on 97.3 The Fan. I just came across something I saw on Twitter, and it's non-sports related, but it stopped me in my tracks. And it said this person read a stat, and I have no idea if this stat's true, but the conversation is where I want to go with this. It said 30 to 50% of people go through their day without or with an internal dialogue. So there's 50% or more of people out there that don't have an internal dialogue with themselves. And that is crazy to me. I haven't even ever thought about it before, but I just thought that everyone just kind of talks to themselves all day in their head, right? Isn't that what I thought? That's what I do a lot. I talk to myself in my head all the time. It's actually one of the reasons that I drank, is I was talking to myself too much in my head all the time. But that's crazy to me. 30 to 50% of people walk around with an internal dialogue. 50 to 70% walk without an internal dialogue. And if you're asking what an internal dialogue is, it's just conversation with yourself in your head, like the one I had in the break where I thought, this is crazy. I talk to myself all the time. Who's not talking to themselves? I don't know. If you talk to yourself, or if you don't talk to yourself, let me know. I want to know why. I really do want to know why. All right, end of this segment, we have a daily gripe, but I wanted to get into Bryce Johnson real quick because time is not my friend tonight. I don't feel like I've done a terrible job with time management, but now that I'm looking at the clock, I am doing a terrible job with time management. So I'm trying to fit everything in here. I only got one of these this week. And Bryce Johnson, outfielder for the Padres, he has, as I said earlier, he was able to make himself, he was able to stay on the team through all of the changes that were made. And I think that's impressive. I do think that's impressive. And guys, again, some of these guys are my favorite guys. The guys that get on a team and then they just work hard and they keep their head down and they go from there. Well, Bryce Johnson, I asked him whether or not, actually, I think I have my question here. So let me just hand myself over to myself and Bryce Johnson. Bryce, the trade deadline, what was that like for you to watch and to kind of, I don't know if you were ever approached about maybe something going down, but what was that like for you to watch?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I wouldn't say nerve-wracking, but you just don't know. I mean, kind of the unknown. So, I just, watched and enjoyed it and then, just waited to see what would happen. And I'm happy to be here. So it worked out well.
You've been in the big leagues for a while now, and you're one of the stories that I like. You work hard, you get to the big leagues, you try to stay in the big leagues. Each year, what gets easier for you about being in the big leagues?
I think it is my routine. Each day I get to master, my routine, and I feel like once I get my routine mastered, it makes me feel more comfortable come game time. So, over the past couple of years, over these last 2 years, I've really been able to master a good routine. It was kind of tough my first 2 years in San Francisco, trying to find what would work best for me to get me prepared for the game. And I felt like over the last 2 years, it's especially here in San Diego, it's gotten really well, and it makes the game way easier for me. I can go out there and just play ball and know that I was prepared.
There you go, Bryce Johnson talking about the trade deadline, and I really do like stories like that. And he might not be the guy who hits 25 home runs a year. He might not be the guy who steals 25 bases, although if he played every day, he probably could steal 25 bases. But he is a valuable player for this team, and he is someone that I foresee having some sort of impact down the stretch, even if it's just pinch running or late game defensive replacement. I think that he is a perfect guy for that. He doesn't have an ego. He just goes about doing his work, and I think that's the type of personality that fits onto his to this Padres team. Is his personality is something where, you come in this clubhouse, you're faced with Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Xander Bogaerts. You got Jake Cronenworth, who's been here for a while. You got Joe Musgrove. You got Yu Darvish. You got all of these guys. Jackson Merrill. I'm forgetting someone. Luis Ariz. I should just name the entire team at this point, but you have to go in being humble, I would assume, because the minute you go in there and pretend like you're a little bit better than everybody else, then I think that's, the first way for you to get your teammates to raise an eyebrow at you is like, what's this guy up to over here? He thinks he's like owning the clubhouse all of a sudden, which none of these guys are doing that. So coming into a team and knowing your role and knowing what you need to do and knowing what work you need to get done is very important. And Bryce Johnson, again, not the most flashy name in the world, but someone who has helped the team a lot. And I appreciate him. I do. I was going to go off on another tangent, but looking at the clock, things are getting a little weird. If you would like to, if you're in your car or anything, you want to see those videos, you can just go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan, and fast forward through the video. You'll be able to find them. I got a couple comments before I end up ending the show. I got a couple comments about the internal dialogue. Jason said, let's go get some rolled tacos, Skraby. We can pick up some for Chris. Yes, Chris did say he loves rolled tacos. And let me tell you, Chris is a fit guy. He is. And he followed SD Fat Loss to a T. But Chris also likes to eat. I'm giving his secrets away. But Chris can put down some food, let me tell you. And he does love his rolled tacos, let me tell you. Like, okay, I'll go into it. He was eating wings earlier, and everybody would be proud of me. Most of the time, I would say something like, why are you eating wings in here? I hate wings. That's not about me. And I just kept my mouth shut. Didn't say a word about him eating wings. And I think it was only like 2 wings anyway, because the vultures of Odyssey San Diego got the pizza. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing to me how quickly the food is gone before anyone else is able to get to it. We put it from the studio, from the performance studio where we do the round table. We put that into the kitchen. It's gone in 5 seconds. It's amazing how fast it goes. Anyway. Oh, internal dialogue. Dominic says, my internal dialogue saved me at work. If it was external, I would have been fired years ago. Been there, Dominic. Sub for you too. I always talk to myself. It's normal to me, and I entertain myself with internal dialogue. I can't imagine what it would feel like if I didn't. I can't imagine either, honestly, because that would be weird. It's like when Jake, they put up a little fact on the screen for Jake Cronenworth, and it says sometimes he likes to drive in silence, which I have done before, but I feel like I'm going crazy. I do. Sometimes I drive in silence just because I feel like I'm having a bad brain day and I need to drive to work and get my brain right. So I drive in a little bit of silence, but it makes me crazy. Makes me crazy. Mott the Padre says, how do you not talk to yourself? Is that even possible? Seems like it would be super lonely. It's a very good question. You're asking the wrong guy. Like you said, is it even possible? I didn't know it was possible to not have an internal dialogue. I guess when I think about that, someone not having an internal dialogue, I think about the Simpsons episode where they go into Homer's head and it's just the wind-up monkey like slapping his hands together. Like, what is it? That's crazy to me, honestly. Elizabeth says, my internal dialogue won't shut up sometimes. I agree with you on that. Sometimes my internal dialogue is going crazy too. But if you're just tuning in, the reason we're talking about internal dialogue is because I saw this thing on the internet, on Twitter, in the break saying that 30% to 50% of people have an internal dialogue, but the rest don't. That is just wild to me. That really is wild to me. All right. Did I get everything? Let's see. Actually, I did want to mention something because a very, very nice listener reached out and she wanted me to help with something. And so I wanted to help real quick because it's the least I could do. Katie says, I'm talking to myself all day. See, everybody has an internal dialogue. Maybe this stat is false, because I cannot see how you can go through a day without talking to yourself at least once. But hunger in San Diego County is back to pandemic era levels, with more than 1 in 4 of our neighborhoods not having food on their table tonight. San Diego Hunger Coalition works behind the scenes with more than 500 local partners to make sure everyone in our county can access 3 nutritious meals every day. Donate today to help ensure no San Diegan has to skip dinner. Learn more at sdhunger.org. If you're interested in learning more about this, sdhunger.org. I do feel for the people who are not able to have food on their table every night. So hopefully this will help even in a small way.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
All right, Daily Gripe real quick. And it comes up because I was going through the TV guide last night, and I saw a Gordon Ramsay show. And I'm like, here's the Daily Gripe. How many cooking shows do we need? Gordon Ramsay alone has like 10 shows. I see a new cooking show every single day. How much cooking can actually be done on TV? I guess a lot, because there's a lot of shows, but you got like the British Bake Off, you got all the Food Network shows, you got Kitchen Nightmare, you got Master Chef, you got Master Chef Junior, Top Chef. I mean, you got all these shows. I don't understand why there's so many cooking shows, but they are shows that people really like to watch because they're there. And so no one's going to put out a product that no one is watching. So apparently people love these cooking shows. And hey, I also like to cook sometimes here and there. And I will go and watch certain YouTube videos. But I feel like there's at least 100 cooking shows out there. And they're not all that great. I used to watch Iron Chef all the time. The new Iron Chef is kind of weird. Just stick with something that makes sense, people. There's my Daily Gripe. All right. Thank you to everybody for being with me tonight. I am off tomorrow. I will be back on Monday. Tony's scheduled to be back with us Monday as well. Chris will be talking to David Morgan tomorrow for Friar Fridays. So have a great weekend, everyone. Be safe. Go Padres.